Episode 17. Are you too tired to try? Welcome back to One Extraordinary Marriage, where we talk about life, love, and the pursuit of intimacy. You're here with Elisa DiLorenzo.
And Tony DiLorenzo.
And tonight we're going to talk about being tired and how that impacts your marriage. But before we get to that, and before we even start talking about our week, we want to share some lofty goals that we have set with you guys. We know that many of you have been sharing our podcast. You've been forwarding the Marriage Minute Monday videos.
Thank you so much, everybody, for doing this too.
And so Tony and I were sitting down last week and we're like, what do you think our community can accomplish? What do you think is the next step? We're so excited. We've got all of these options out there for you, whether you listen to us on the podcast or you log in to the website and, read the blog.
You can also sign up for the RSS feed there as well.
Tony's got it all dialed in. He's my tech guy. But we were talking and Tony kind of said, well, what if by the end of the year we had 1,000 subscribers to the podcast? And so, we both kind of got, eyes big as saucers and said, ooh, what would that be like? What would it be like if our community said, you know what? We like what we're hearing. We like what Tony and Elisa have to say. And we want our friends to hear what's going on. And quite honestly, you guys are the only way we're going to get to that goal.
Yep.
Because it's all word of mouth. We don't have our faces plastered on a billboard somewhere, and we don't have a TV
Although
show.
that would be really cool.
That would be cool. It's not happened yet.
Like lifelike Tony and Elisa heads.
Okay, that scares me. That scares me. But really, it's because of you that we are where we are. That we
Amen.
Have
totally.
That we have the subscribers that we do, that we have people checking us, becoming fans, or I guess it's likes now on Facebook.
We still consider all of you guys our fans, and we love all of you.
Yeah, I can't get my hand around this new like button thing, but you guys know what we're talking about. It's all about community. You are part of the one community, and we hope that you will help us reach this goal of 1,000 subscribers, and we're going to keep you posted. Again, the way that you can do is by sharing what you enjoy about us with your friends.
And to do that, you can just go to www.oneextraordinarymarriage.com, and you'll see right there on the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little iTunes icon. Just click that, and that will bring you right up to an iTunes website, and you can subscribe right there.
He makes it so easy. It's nice to have a tech guy. He doesn't think so at night when he's pulling his hair out, but I can brag on him for doing all the behind the scenes work.
No, I want to make it easy for everybody to join up and to join in and to hear what we're doing.
And
because you know what, ultimately what it means is we're changing marriages. And even though we haven't had much listener feedback here in the last couple of weeks, and if you would like to leave a voice message, please do. You can call at 858-754-9937. That is a 24/7 message. Call in, leave your message, let us know what we're doing or how you like what we're doing. You can give us a comment, a suggestion. You can even give us some ideas of future podcasts. And it's not going to ring our phone. We're not going to wake up. So leave it whenever you want.
Which is great for those of you in various other time zones who, worry about waking us up, because we've actually had that comment from people before, and we don't even hear it ring. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. So, and I know we haven't had a lot, but we've been getting a load of emails from folks, and I want to thank all of you who have really spent some time going over our podcasts or even some of our blog postings, questioning what you're doing in your marriage, even questioning us at times, and having some really awesome dialogue. I've been really enjoying that with you. Please keep it coming.
Definitely. And as we are right around the corner from May, the book is getting every step closer to becoming a reality.
Very, very close. It's almost there.
We received the interior proof today, and we just have to say we are so excited at the work that Lisa and her team at sixthsense.com are doing to make this book happen.
Is that the right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I looked it up.
Okay.
It's one of those untold blessings when you find somebody that you can work with and that tolerates all of our little quirks, and back and forth, like, ooh, could we just change this? And Lisa and her team have been phenomenal. And
if you want to thank Lisa, I'm going to tell you under our Facebook fan page where I posted up our audacious goals to have 1,000 subscribers. Lisa commented down there, and if you're out there and you want to just thank her for all the hard work she's done, I would just, and Elisa would, we'd appreciate that because she has done a phenomenal job helping us. And, Lisa is part of this one community. She's here right there with all of you guys. And I want to thank her because she's put up with me for all these months. Which,
having done it for almost 14 years, I can definitely say that's no easy task.
Thank you.
So, hey, no problem.
I love you too.
And again, it's getting close, and we are just, having seen the interior proof today, we're getting excited to be able to share this book with you, with all of you. It's one of those kind of, it sort of hits you to the core when you start to see your words take shape in a book. It's been a dream for a long time, and we're getting close to having that dream become a reality. And also want to say, Tony had mentioned that we've been getting some emails, and we've also had a number of you contacting us for the free 30-minute consultation for coaching. And this is one of those things where it's no obligation. You can just go to the coaching tab on the website at oneextraordinarymarriage.com, click on the free 30-minute consultation. It takes you to a contact form, and then that goes to us, and then we get in contact with you and see where you are, where you want to take your marriage, and how coaching might work for you and your spouse. So we encourage you, if you haven't, or if you've kind of been thinking, well, maybe we should try this coaching thing. Click through for the coaching consultation, and let's see what we can't do together. I thought you were.
I agree.
Oh, okay. Well, isn't that nice? He agrees.
All right, let's get to our week.
Well, we had mentioned last week that as a family, we were going to be participating in Sleepless San Diego, which is this was the 4th annual benefit sleep out to raise awareness and funds for the homeless problem here in San Diego. And, we slept out last year with the kids, and this year it was really amazing to me.
Well, I think we need to lead up to Saturday night when we slept out, where we got some pretty heavy rains here in San Diego. I think in our little rain gauge in the backyard, we had an inch of rain over the course of 2 days. It rained on Wednesday and Thursday.
Right.
And so we were looking at each other going, oh no, it's going to rain on us and this is going to be really miserable. And do we still do it? And we're checking the weather.com. And luckily the forecasters were right.
Yay, forecasters.
And so on Friday it cleared up and we had a beautiful balmy 70-degree day, dried everything up. And then on Saturday we ended up having another gorgeous day, and it was in the mid 70s. So it dried everything up enough for us and the 400, I think almost 500 people who slept out on Saturday night with us.
And the interesting thing too is our kids were bickering and fighting all day Saturday. In fact,
we almost didn't make it.
Well, Alex got so mad at us that he said, I'm not going. I'm not going to Sleepless. And so, even in the car on the way there, they were
it was just
touching each other and just doing all of these.
Here's the thing I don't understand is that how is it we get all the way up to the day of, everybody's happy, ready to go, cheery and loving it, and then Saturday morning I come back from my bike ride, and I'm not kidding you, I was about to just turn around and leave again. Abby is screaming, Alex is crying.
I was in a bad
You were in a bad mood. You'd thrown away Abby's Barbie doll.
She threw it. I was tired of toys being thrown.
I understand, but I mean, it was just one of those things where I was just going, are you kidding me? Like, we get up to the day of this event, everybody's been really excited about it, and it's to pot. I mean, I remember sitting in Alex's room telling him, son, we're going, and if you choose not to, you can stay home. And the crying and the wailing, and then I had to sort of backpedal because I didn't know who was going to stay home with him.
Precisely. That was a good thread. I was trying to figure out how you were going to actually carry that out.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking that one through.
But the reality is that, so literally until the time that we pulled in the parking lot and opened the doors, the kids were at each other's throats and just...
Yeah.
And then we opened the car doors in the parking lot, and all of a sudden 2 different kids emerged from the car.
Totally different. I mean, it was more like Alex was going, hey, Dad, can I help with that? And Abby's like grabbing a sleeping bag and, oh, I'll carry this. And everybody was cheery and happy and get it.
Yeah, it was like a Twilight Zone.
I don't get it sometimes.
Twilight Zone. And I have to share the story with Alex, or about Alex, because I forget sometimes how big that kid's heart is. And we had made Rice Krispie treats. He's been asking me for probably a month and a half to make Rice Krispie treats.
And they came out really hard.
I don't know what happened.
Those were some of the worst Rice Krispie treats. I'm sorry. I know I didn't tell you it then, but I got to tell you, those were bad. Dude, I seriously thought I was going to bust a tooth.
Okay, it does. Usually they're good. I'm not really sure if I wasn't paying attention. Anyhow,
I understand.
The Rice Krispie treats were.
Gosh, they were bad.
Yeah. Anyway, so we take these Rice Krispie
treats. They're very
treats.
just hard to chew.
Yes, you've said that.
Okay,
they get the point. The Rice Krispie treats were not good.
Okay. Have you guys ever had bad Rice Krispie treats?
Enough. The kids didn't care. They were so excited to have Rice Krispie treats.
Right.
And this is a story about Alex.
Okay.
Okay. Not about the Rice Krispie treats.
Okay.
So we have this bag of Rice Krispie treats, and one of the people that we were looking for that night was Mark, who is our contact at the rescue mission, good friend of ours. So the minute we see him, Alex is like, Mom, we have to get the Rice Krispie treats. So he runs back, and so we end up carrying this bag of Rice Krispie treats around. And we stop at one booth, the Ladle Kitchen.
Yes.
Which is a soup kitchen here in San Diego. And Tony strikes up a conversation with Scotty, one of the guys in the booth. And all of a sudden, I'm getting this like tug on my sleeve. Mom. I'm like, hold on a minute. We're having a conversation here. No, Mom.
And this booth, they were actually giving out small cups of soup
that
they serve on Sundays. Every Sunday, they serve out in downtown San Diego.
So I finally, look down at Alex. I'm like, what is it? What do you want? We're trying to have a conversation here. And he's like, Mom, can I offer him one of the Rice Krispie treats? And it was in that moment that I thought, you know what? Once again, learning a life lesson from my kids about just stepping back and giving. All he wanted to do was share his Rice Krispie treats with whomever he ran into.
Mm-hmm.
And I was too busy, doing other stuff to pay attention. I'm like, once again, there's the voice of God in a 7-year-old child. And it was really, I told him later, it was one of those moments where I get a glimpse into the man that he's going to become with this giving heart.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, he'll probably still be, beating on his little sister, but, he has this heart and this compassion for other people and this willingness to give straight from his heart. And it was this really amazing glimpse into who he is. And I was like, oh, okay. That right there really kind of sort of embodied the whole event for me. The giving so selflessly of this little guy who just wants to share the hardest Rice Krispie treats in America that night. So we get the kids situated, we've shared Rice Krispie treats, and we get the kids situated. And so finally it's like 9:30 and finally get little one down to sleep. And Alex is he's fighting it, too much excitement. And 10:30, 10:45, he goes to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually ended up with date night. It was kind of an unexpected date night, but they were showing the movie The Soloist, which if you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend it. It's an amazing story.
Very good.
Of, a homeless man and a reporter in Los Angeles. And the homeless man, Nathaniel Ayers, is an unbelievably amazing musician who, through mental illness and whatnot, found himself on the streets, and it's the story of their friendship and what happens. But Tony and I got to watch a movie under the stars.
Yeah.
Kind of romantic. I was like, we should go to bed. But then it was like, you know what? This is like date night. We're not gonna pass that up. So go to sleep after midnight. Abby wakes up sometime in the wee hours calling out for me. And then the event coordinators wake us up at, 5:45 in the morning.
Yep.
So
that's why it's called sleepless.
Yeah. Which means that the next day, everybody is overtired.
Yeah.
Which really is where this week's podcast came from. Because the reality is that we are all juggling lots and lots of things. We don't get enough sleep. We have so much stuff on our plates that sometimes it's like, oh, well, do we stay up? Especially for us, the last couple of months where, we used to be in bed by 10. And now if we get to bed at 10, we're doing like the happy dance going, oh my gosh.
We're making love.
Or going to sleep. It depends on where we are in the week and whose night it is.
This is true too. But most nights we're up till midnight or later.
Most nights we're up till midnight. And, so you do start to find yourself running on sleep deprivation.
And fatigue. I mean, for me, a lot of the fatigue has led to me not being able to get on my bike as much as I'd like to in the recent past. And that's sort of frustrating for me because, pursuing a balanced life is part of that is being on my bike and, staying up late or getting up early to do some other things and then working a long day and then doing it over and over and over again. I've noticed my cycling has taken a hit. That's been a bummer.
And Tony's mental health when he doesn't ride takes a hit. I mean,
no.
you've been pretty balanced, but it definitely impacts you when you don't get to ride.
Well, this year I don't have any major goals.
That helps us.
That helps a lot because I'm not so focused on having to do a double century and all the training that goes with it and doing it 3 times in a year. So that allows for a lot of just ease. Right. I'm not trying to constantly push myself farther and farther, so I'm ready for my double centuries.
Well, and I think we've learned a lot about how we handle fatigue in our marriage too, and how that impacts us. Because I know, in the early years, and even as recently as a few years ago, I have not been one to handle sleep deprivation very well. You're looking at me.
That's saying it very nicely.
You don't get up with our children at night.
I wake up.
Okay. For all of you mothers out there, or fathers who are the ones that wake up, there's a big difference between waking up and getting up. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm not going to draw it on gender lines because I know some of you out there, the dads are the ones that wake up and, congratulations. I'm glad to know that there are some husbands that do get up. Tony does, but only when I'm stuck in a bedroom with the other child. So anyway,
that's just the way we've rolled.
Right. And yet when it happens too many nights in a row, I find myself.
It definitely affects all forms of intimacy in our marriage.
Absolutely. It becomes one of those situations where it's hard for me to talk because my brain's not even functioning, and it affects my mood and my attitude. It's hard to let the little things roll off your back when you're tired and it just feels like you're constantly being.
You get very snippy.
I do.
You get very. I can tell right off the bat when you're getting sleep deprived or you're fatigued. You're very snippy. You're very to the point of just even physically. Like if I come up to you and want to give you a kiss or a hug, it just isn't going to happen. You're just very turned off by it. And sometimes that's very irritating because I'm trying to get you out of your doldrums and you're just sort of like, I want to stay in my doldrums.
Sometimes you just want to be in a mood.
I understand. I don't have those.
Yeah, you don't. Not at all. Not at all. But
or at least I try not to.
You try not to. I think that's because you don't have somebody saying mommy in your ear all day long.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
good
helps.
For me.
Yeah, that is good for you. But the fact is that Tony's right. I mean, when I'm very, very tired, I don't necessarily want to be intimate with him. I'm tired already. I gave it the office. I'm done. And, it's been over the last couple of years where I've had to step back and say, okay, you know what? Me being tired really is only my problem. I need to be conscious of the fact and not make this a family problem.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to keep the snippiness to a minimum, which doesn't always work.
I was going to say, how are you doing in that area?
That's an area I'm working on. It's not easy for me because that's like my first reaction. You actually have been very good because I think you realize now when I'm very tired, you send me to go take a nap. You've been doing that more.
Yeah, well, I figure you just go get your nap, get it out of the way, and let's move on. I don't know. I see it, I sense it, and I know there's nothing good going to come out of moving forward. Yeah, moving forward if you're awake. So I figure just give you some time to relax and rest, and hopefully it rejuvenates you so you can come back to the living and into the family.
Well, and I think that's a big thing. I think, your patience and understanding goes a long way towards helping me kind of work through, just sort of getting out of that doldrums and, okay, you're like, at least you need some time. Just go lay down. I'll wake you up in half an hour.
The cool thing though, like after Sleepless, we knew from the get-go that we were going to go to nap. I mean, we were telling the kids, hey, even on Saturday, we're like, hey, kids, okay, this is what we're doing. We're going to Sleepless. We're not going to sleep much. We'll get up. We'll have breakfast. We'll wash up. We'll go to church at 9. We'll do the 9 a.m. service. We'll get home. And we were thinking, oh, you know what? We'll just hang out, do lunch, and then do an afternoon nap. But we were so tired. We did morning movie. And at that point, me, you, and Abby conked out.
Mm-hmm.
Alex watched his movie. And, once we woke up in early afternoon, we did our lunch. We hung out. We cleaned up all of our stuff from Sleepless. And as the afternoon wore on, Alex finally just conked out.
Poor kid. He was...
So we knew just coming off of Sleepless, knowing where we were going to be at.
Right.
We needed to have sleep on Sunday.
Yeah, and we had actually, not planned anything specifically for that day, knowing that there was no way it was going to be feasible. And so, I think that's part of it. If you have something coming up that whether it's working late or, having to get up early, you need to look at your schedule and say, you know what, I can't do something the next day. Or I can't overcommit myself on the back end of that because I'm not going to have the internal resources to be able to do that well without feeling completely overwhelmed.
You know where my heart goes out, though, right now? My heart goes out to the many men and women out there who are working 10, 11, 12-hour days, day after day. You and I don't do that.
Right.
We're blessed that I have my own business. You've been a stay-at-home mom. You have another business that you started a year and a half. We have a lot of flexibility. And so, it has to be tough for these guys and gals who are working 10, 11, 12-hour days.
Oh, agreed.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the hard part for a lot of couples. And we've heard it in some of our small groups where folks are going, hey, you know what? We want to be intimate. But gosh, my work is keeping me out for 10, 11, 12 hours a day. I'm stressed out. I don't have anything. A nap isn't going to make it any better.
Right.
And one thing I'm all about is pursuing a balanced life. If work is taking that much out of you, I think you got to start thinking, is this the way I'm going to live my life? Is this how I'm going to go for the rest of my life? And I know money's important, and I know we need to keep a roof over our head and food on the table. But man, you may want to start thinking about, what can you do? Can you take a day off somewhere? Can you do a half a day somewhere? Can you have a flex schedule? These are all things that I have brought up to guys that I talk with on a daily basis in our small groups. there's a lot that can happen. I think you got to just make the choice to do that. I'm gonna give a plug out to Dan Miller, and you can check him out at 48days.com. And Dan Miller is a big career life coach, and his book 48 Days to the Work You Love, it's all about finding a passion within you and finding the work that you love. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be self-employment. He's saying you can even find work that you truly love and are happy to go to, and it fits who you are. And so I would suggest to anybody who just feels like they're in a rut career-wise that maybe they check out Dan's book.
Well, and I know that's something that you've actually recommended to a number of people that you've talked to.
I went through, you remember?
Years ago,
Years ago. I mean, I even sat down with Dan many, many years ago when I was in a rut with my work going, geez, is this what it's all about? Getting up. I mean, I was getting up at 4:30 in the morning, driving 2 hours to beat traffic into LAX.
Right.
We
both were.
Yeah. Work 8 hours. And then I'd have to sit on the darn 91 freeway, get home at 6 o'clock at night, I almost 6. I'd get home at 6. You'd get home a little bit after that.
Yeah.
I mean, we were out for 14 hours a day. We didn't even see each other.
Right.
And we were so darn fatigued. I think those were the days when I can look back and go, that was a big problem in our marriage. And we didn't even have kids. I couldn't even imagine if I was gone 14 hours a day to walk home to see the kids for an hour and then do it again and again and again, and then the weekend hits and you're just dead tired.
And that's when you have to do all the other stuff that you can't do
during the week. So I think that's a big issue that everyone needs to look at.
And we know there are no easy answers.
There aren't.
It's one of those things where when you're trying to get your life in balance, trying not to live this fatigued lifestyle, which so many people find themselves in, it's hard to say, okay, you know what has to give, or what can I, where can I catch up and feel more restful? What can I say no to so that I don't have, again, Sunday we planned nothing after Sleepless so that we weren't going to feel rushed or burdened or overwhelmed.
The only thing we planned was going out to dinner.
Yeah, because I didn't want to cook.
Right. But I'm just saying, that was the one thing we did plan.
Which almost didn't happen because of a tantrum, but...
Yes, see?
But again, it's, we've made lifestyle choices so that we can have, for us, we made the choice to have.
Right. But I also want to say, early on when I launched my business, it wasn't where it is today.
Absolutely not.
I mean, I was busting my butt 6 days a week. I typically took Sunday off. It was a grind. And now, 7 years later, I'm able to make a schedule the way I want it. I've really worked it out so that I can do certain things at certain times. So there's always going to be a point where you have to put that extra time in. It's just, do you want to do it on the long haul, day after day after day,
or do it short term to create something different? And that's a question that each person has to answer for themselves.
And we're just talking about work. I mean, we should get into the whole stay-at-home mom. I mean, that in itself is fatiguing, especially when you have newborns and youngins. You got a toddler running around, and then you got your newborn there.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
the constant fatigue that hits is unreal.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got a newborn who's eating, throughout the night, so you're up every 3-4 hours. And, I mean, for us, when we had Abby, Alex was 3, no naps.
Did we even have intimacy back then?
Well, we must have. We had Abby.
I understand, but I'm trying to remember back to the point of after Abby was born, even some months after, 3, 4, 6 months after she was born. I mean, really,
we'd have sex, but I wouldn't call it intimacy.
Mm-mm.
And I think that's because my reserves were so drained at that point in time, and it was just an adjustment of, okay, what's going on? And
I don't think there are any resources for us to even go to.
Probably not. I probably blocked that time out. Like it seems she's 4.5 now. It seems like a long time ago.
But I remember there are just stages in our life where the fatigue that you incurred having the kids and all the things that you had to deal with, staying up late, feeding them and all that. I mean, our intimacy, all of it, from communicating with each other to just going out recreationally, doing stuff together, to sexually. I mean, it wasn't there at all.
I would agree with you. I think children, obviously early on in a marriage, or early on in their lives, because they are so needy, wear you out.
Right.
And that's a season of life. Fortunately, they do grow up and then they have different needs and they still wear you out, but it's different.
I think what I would suggest, though, to anybody who is in that stage, at least tackle the communication. Constantly be talking to your spouse. Both guys and gals, husband and wives, need to be talking to each other about how they're dealing with this time in their lives. You need to communicate, because I think that's one thing Elisa and I didn't do during this time. I mean, we just sort of pushed our way through it.
Yeah.
It's going to end soon. And we just
sheer force.
We're going to just push our way through it and it's all going to be better. And you know what? I think one thing I've learned over the years is that if we would have been communicating more through all this and just talking about, okay, Elisa, especially on my side, where are you fatigued? How can I unload some of that burden from you? What could I do? And it may have been as simple as just making a dinner once or twice a week.
Ooh, that would have been nice.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that, you're going through a stage of life and you are going to come out on the other end. I mean, look at Elisa and I now. I mean, we got a 7 and a 4.5-year-old and, we're having sex twice a week and loving it. I mean, you're going to get through it, but I think we could have done a lot more.
Well, and I think regardless of whether you're dealing with children or you're dealing with jobs that are demanding a lot of your time, or maybe you've got parents you're taking care of. I mean, there are all of these different things that can wear you out. And so regardless of what that is, the communication point, that's key. It's important to let our spouses know, what, here's what's wearing me out. Here's what I have on my plate right now. And I'm trying to keep all these balls in the air and I can't. Can you make a dinner? Can you do the laundry? I mean, in the last couple of months, I've seen Tony just, he talked about this a little bit last week when we were talking about service in episode 16, but, he just does stuff now. I don't have to ask him to, hey, can you throw a load in? Or, I mean, sometimes I do, but it's not like, it doesn't carry the same weight to my question. Like sometimes in the past, I think I would do it almost accusingly. Like, could you at least put a load of laundry in? And now it's like, hey, I'm running out with the kids. Can you just toss a load in and I'll get it? There's a different tone, I feel. I don't know if you feel it.
Oh, totally. Yeah. There's completely a different tone.
But I think that's because we spend so much time talking and being more in tune to what's going on with each other to say, you know what, something's not quite right. Are you tired? Are you frustrated?
But this goes back to our blog post, The Veil of Perfection. It's taking that veil down and being truthful and honest with your spouse. It's really diving down into some of these deeper issues.
Agreed.
And letting it all down so that way when we get to that point of frustration and fatigue, if something comes up, it's not something new and earth-shattering. It's, okay, Elisa is tired or Tony is tired. Take a rest. Let's move on. I think it still comes back to if you're hiding stuff and your spouse doesn't know what's going on, when all of a sudden you are fatigued and beat down and you don't tell them what's happening prior to that, then it seems like it blows up. Or there's a shutdown like you would do.
Right.
You know, in our family, it was more of a shutdown on your part.
Mm-hmm.
I would blow up on Alex.
Right. Right. Yeah. Everybody's got their own way of handling their fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
And, once they get overtired, how they respond to triggers and
it's
stimuli.
The stress and the anxiety hits you too. And right.
And some people will blow up. Some people will shut down. Some people will get physical. And so it's heading off those reactions by diffusing the situation before it becomes massive.
Mm-hmm.
And you do that through giving your spouse patience and understanding, having the communication with them, and being able to read some of their body signals so that you can say, hey, are you tired? And if so, why don't you go rest, or I'll take care of the kids, or I'll make dinner, or do laundry, or, we'll just get out of your hair.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take the kids to the park for an hour. Those types of other things. It's understanding that when your spouse is tired, probably not the best time to tackle those big conversations.
No.
Because you're not going to have a good conversation, and, it's not going to be pretty. If somebody's tired, they're not going to make a well-informed decision. You want to judge what's going on in your life and make good decisions for your family based on what the current situation is. If somebody's really tired, wait till tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Unless it's an emergency, it has to be answered right away.
I think that's easier said than done.
Because we think everything's an emergency?
No, I think what ends up happening in many situations is if somebody's home and they're festering on something, right? If you're at home and you're festering on something, and I've been out on a long day, and then all of a sudden I walk through the door all hunky-dory, I have no clue what's going on. I walk through the door, and all of a sudden you may know I'm tired, but all of a sudden you hit me over the head with something, and boom, it goes into an argument.
I see what you're saying.
I mean, I think what you're saying is great, and it's well prescribed, but I think what ends up happening is someone's at home, it's festering. That person who is tired walks through the door, and boom, they get bopped over the head. And
that's probably more the reality than taking the time out.
Right.
And I think that's something that we work on. I try not to.
Well, we talk a lot during the day. We have the opportunity to talk a lot. And so we work through a lot of, or I don't say we work through a lot of, but we do put out a lot of little fires before I would even get home.
Right. We have that luxury.
Yeah, because we're talking. So, I mean, for folks who don't have that opportunity, maybe their spouse is behind a computer all day long and they can't be disturbed.
And to that end, then, in your marriage, you need to figure out a strategy so that you aren't having these, your spouse walks in the door and gets beat over the head with whatever the latest fire is. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a 10-minute zone where, I've heard of couples who, like the first 10 minutes that somebody walks in the door is kind of a de-stress time. We don't talk about the bad stuff. We don't hit on any of that. That's just, that's like a cool down time.
I've heard that too.
Or, I remember reading a story once where, and I think it's more like a folk story or something like that, where, there was a tree outside this one person's house and they would like kind of, just touch the tree as they were coming, leaving their bad stuff on the doorstep,
cool.
Almost in a prayer, or, kind of just giving that, not bringing it into the home. Because, the reality is I know you don't share a lot of the crap that you deal with at work. You have your buddies, that doesn't come into our home. You leave most of that in your car out in San Diego. I don't really hear any of the, if you had a lousy day with a client or, I don't hear about any of that.
I wouldn't say any of it. You hear about it. I tell you
very
what's
little.
happening.
Very little. You have told me that you don't tell me very much. And that's because you don't bring that into our home. That's a choice you've made.
Right. Well, I just don't. I mean, I let you know about certain clients that are bugging me, but I don't fester on them or just constantly go over and over and over, here at the house about it. I'd let you know about what's happening, and then I just move on. I'm one of those guys that just wants to move on. I think there's a brighter day tomorrow. I always believe that tomorrow is a brighter day. Today's going to end. Tomorrow's going to be brighter. So let's just keep on going. I'm not going to fester on the past. And that's just me. I mean, I used to fester on the past. Used to hate my life. Thought it sucked.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting destroyed by it. I mean, the fatigue and the tiredness and the stress and the anxiety. I mean, I was tired by it all. I was just beat down by it all. And so I don't know when it came about. I wish I could remember
what changed. And
I wish I could remember some of these smaller, minute details of when and why. I don't know. I just know it came to a point where I was done with it, and I just made a decision to move on. A lot of it has to do with the books I was reading. A lot of it, some of the stuff was from Dan Miller years ago. I remember, just even reading Dave Ramsey stuff, a number of other books, Napoleon Hill. I'm trying to think of some of these other guys that I was listening to, Earl Nightingale. Mm-hmm. I just started listening to that stuff, and I started filling my mind with that stuff. And I remember just diving more and more into the Bible and just leaning and putting all of that weight of stress and the anxiety and the fatigue I was feeling from starting the business and just laying that on God's lap and just going, dude, I'm done.
That's so interesting that you mentioned that, because I remember, I think it was with Alex, when I was just, incredibly fatigued and wondering if my child was ever going to sleep through the night. And, really got to the point where I'm like, I have nowhere else to go. And I remember looking up, rest in the Bible, and came up with Matthew 11:28-30. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And
amen to that. Which verse is that again?
That's Matthew 11:28-30 in the NIV.
Wow, that's heavy. That's good stuff.
And it's become one of my verses that I fall back on. And I typically just deal with the 28. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Mm-hmm. God's there.
He is.
And Tony, you talk about how you just got to the point where you were digging into the Bible and just laying it all there for God to say, you know what, I don't want to live this way anymore. I don't want to feel this way. For me, when I get really beat down and tired, I'm like, okay, God, I need your help. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to do too much of this by myself, on my own, the way I want it done. And I have to say, you know what? I'm probably doing too much on my own.
Mm-hmm. One of the verses that has always struck me and allows me to just put everything at the feet of God is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those verses I do remember reading over and over and saying over and over in my head, is that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. God, the power that he has given me is flowing through my body, and that will strengthen me. And so as I just continue to pray to him, I just remember little by little, stressors would just be gone. Mm-hmm. The tiredness that I was having would just be gone, because I was just leaving it at the doorstep. I wasn't festering on it anymore, but I was just leaving it at his feet and just letting him deal with it. I wish I would remember that more often in my life.
Well, and I think that's something that we all can work on, because there's just, there's a lot going on in people's lives, and it's hard not to be tired.
Right.
I think with, between work and, spending time on the internet or watching TV or just doing all of the things that we want to do, it wears us down.
Mm-hmm.
And so my prayer for all of you this week would be that you would find some time for rest with your spouse, whether it's just making the decision to turn off the TV one night and just, sit on the couch together, just hold each other and, cuddle. Have some time where you're present with your spouse and you're not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just be with your spouse. Turn off the computers, turn off the TV, don't answer the phone. Let yourself be rejuvenated with the one that loves you most.
Mm-hmm.
And make that be an effort this week. As we wrap up this week's podcast, I do want to let you guys know what's going to be going on with us next week. We have an interview with Jason and Kelly Krafsky, and they have written the book Facebook in Your Marriage. And reading this book, the format that they chose is amazing. I love it because the book reads and looks like Facebook pages, with little pictures and questions, and they really go in depth not only on how to use Facebook and how, they talk about everything from poking to, setting up your privacy settings. So all of the technical stuff,
mm-hmm.
but their heart is for married couples, and it comes through in this book, and about all of the threats to marriage.
Yes.
That Facebook and social media, Facebook specifically, but, all of the internet world, there's a lot of threats out there to our marriages. And so we're very excited to be talking with them. And are we playing that podcast next Thursday? Is that the plan, or do we know yet?
This would be
We're interviewing them on Tuesday. So
it'll be episode 18. Yep.
So those of you listening this week, if there are specific questions that you would love to hear the Krafskys answer, or, like I said, we've got a copy of the book, would love to hear from you this week. You can send us an email at askalisa@oneextraordinarymarriage.com or
asktony@oneextraordinarymarriage.com.
We would love to be able to ask those questions, pose those questions to the Krafskys on behalf of the One community. And or you call in at the 858-754-9937 question. We'll play the question and get their answer and have some dialogue. Facebook is very real. People are spending, what did you tell me the other day, an average of
7 hours a month.
7 hours a month on Facebook. And, I'm well above that.
Yes, you are.
I skew that average to the high side. But we've also, Tony and I have set up boundaries in terms of who we are friends with and things like that. And so I'm very excited to hear what the Krafskys are going to have to say and share with all of you. But again, if you have questions about Facebook and your marriage, we'd love to hear from you. We thank you every week for being a part of this community. We said at the beginning of the show, you make this community what it is.
Yep.
Through your comments, through your support, through your prayers. If it wasn't for you, Tony and I would not have the luxury once a week to sit down and have these conversations. And so, as always, it is something that we will continue to do. We want to say thank you to each and every one of you. You are incredibly important to us.
So tell all your friends and family to subscribe.
He was waiting for that opening. He was just waiting for that.
I just want to remind you guys, tell them all.
Help us reach that goal.
We want to change people's marriages.
Which is really our ultimate goal.
That's right.
It's not so much to have 1,000 subscribers. That's a number.
Right. That's true.
Tony's the numbers guy.
I am.
That's a number. But more importantly, you could be sharing a resource for somebody to improve their marriage. Or if they've got a good marriage, to make it even better. You could be giving a friend a gift. And we hope that you see, that you are part of something bigger. And so we just want to say thank you for that. And we'll talk to you guys next week.
Love you guys.